I still remember the exact moment everything changed. I was staring at my reflection in the cold, sterile bathroom mirror of the hospital room, my pulse hammering in my ears. The fluorescent light above me was harsh, unforgiving, illuminating every tiny detail of my new face, soft, delicate, unmistakably feminine. My hands, which I had always known as mine, felt foreign as they traced the curves of my cheeks, my jawline, my lips. "Is this really me?" I whispered to myself, my voice trembling. The reflection that stared back wasn't the person I had known for 27 years. It was someone entirely new. Beautiful, undeniably real, and yet terrifying. I blinked, trying to process the magnitude of what had just happened. The surgery wasn't just cosmetic. It was transformative. Every contour, every line had been reshaped. I had spent years secretly dreaming of this, but nothing, no hormone therapy, no mirrors in dimly lit rooms, had prepared me for the shock of seeing my body finally match the woman I had always felt inside. My stomach twisted with a mix of awe and fear. Could I really step out into the world like this? Could people accept me, or would they recoil? The first hour alone was electric. My mind raced with memories of every time I had stood in front of a mirror wishing, silently begging, for my reflection to match my soul. And now, here it was, real, tangible, undeniable. My fingers lingered on my cheeks, brushing over my lips, feeling the softness I had only ever imagined. The nurse's footsteps outside the door reminded me that this wasn't a dream. This was life, and it was mine to navigate. Life after the surgery wasn't as cinematic as I had imagined. It was messy, awkward, and full of moments that left me breathless. Walking down the hospital corridor for the first time in my new body, I felt the weight of every gaze. Some were curious, some indifferent, and others, sharp, questioning. "Excuse me, miss," one nurse said politely, holding the door. Her tone was casual, but I felt like I was under a microscope. Every step, every movement seemed exaggerated, as if my body was broadcasting my transformation to the world. Returning home was harder. My family noticed immediately. My younger sister's eyes widened the second she saw me. "Oh, wow," she said, unsure whether to smile or frown. My father avoided looking directly at me for hours, and my mother, bless her heart, oscillated between gentle concern and tentative acceptance. At work, it was worse. Colleagues whispered, glanced at me with a mix of surprise and subtle judgment. "New haircut?" one asked, though everyone knew it wasn't just a haircut. I tried to laugh it off, but inside, my heart was hammering. Would they ever see me as the person I truly was, or would I always be the old me trapped inside a new shell? Every reflection became a battlefield. Mirrors, windows, smartphone cameras, they all taunted me with this strange mix of beauty and vulnerability. The world saw a confident, attractive woman, but inside, I was terrified. Terrified of judgment. Terrified of rejection. Terrified that this incredible freedom I had longed for might actually isolate me. But as the days turned into weeks, I began to explore. Not in public, not yet, but in the private sanctuary of my bedroom, my new reality started to feel like mine. I experimented with makeup, tentatively at first. Foundation that matched my skin perfectly, blush that made my cheeks glow, eyeshadow that brought out my eyes. Each brushstroke was a revelation. My fingers shook the first time I applied mascara, watching my eyelashes darken and lengthen. The effect was magical, almost intoxicating. Clothing became another exploration of self. Silky dresses that hugged my curves, skirts that swayed with every movement, tops that accentuated the softness of my shoulders. I was learning the rhythm of my new body. My closet, once a collection of masculine staples, now felt like a treasure trove of possibility. I even practiced my voice, softening it, experimenting with the subtle rise and fall, the delicate inflection that made conversations feel natural. Alone in my room, I laughed at how strange and exhilarating it all felt. For the first time, I wasn't hiding. I was discovering. There were nights when I would stare at myself in the mirror for hours, tracing every line, imagining how the world would react. Some nights I felt like a goddess. Others, I crumbled under the weight of vulnerability. But every small experiment, every brushstroke, every outfit, every vocal practice, was a step closer to claiming myself, to feeling whole. Eventually, the desire to live beyond my bedroom grew too strong. I began small, walks in the park at dusk, coffee shops at quiet hours. The first outing was terrifying. My hands shook, my heart raced, and every passerby seemed to notice me. But then, something shifted. A stranger smiled at me genuinely, a compliment about my dress, a casual comment about my earrings. The warmth of these interactions was electric. For the first time, I felt a hint of the life I had always imagined for myself, living openly, fully, unapologetically. Weekend nights became experiments in public femininity. I learned to navigate social cues, to walk with confidence despite the nerves. Each interaction was a mixture of thrill and anxiety. Ordering at a cafe, chatting with a barista, even sitting at a bus stop. Small victories. Someone used my chosen name, someone complimented my makeup, built a quiet resilience. I began to blend excitement with a strange, exhilarating fearlessness. My reflection in storefront windows started to feel familiar, even friendly. The woman staring back at me was no longer a stranger, she was me, in full bloom. But life has a way of testing newfound confidence. One afternoon at work, I overheard hushed voices. "Is that really him?" one colleague murmured. My stomach dropped. All the careful control I had built over weeks threatened to unravel. Should I confront them, clarify, retreat, or embrace? My mind raced with fear, anxiety, and a small, stubborn ember of defiance. I realized, in that moment, I had a choice: shrink back into secrecy or step forward into authenticity. The confrontation was subtle, but decisive. I walked into the break room, took a deep breath, and faced them. "Yes, it's me," I said simply, my voice steady. The silence was electric. Eyes widened, jaws clenched, and then, slowly, understanding softened the tension. It wasn't a battle to be won. It was a declaration of self. And in that declaration, I felt something incredible: empowerment. For the first time, I realized that authenticity was more powerful than fear. From that day on, everything shifted. Conversations became easier. Colleagues adapted. Friends began to see the real me, and some even offered unexpected support. Social interactions that once filled me with dread now became opportunities to express joy, creativity, and confidence. I discovered communities online and in person who celebrated transformation, offering advice, solidarity, and encouragement. My journey, once solitary and hidden, became a shared story of courage and resilience. In the months that followed, my life transformed, not just externally, but internally. I embraced my femininity fully, celebrated my body, and owned my identity without apology. I found joy in the little things: picking out a new dress, experimenting with hairstyles, receiving genuine smiles from strangers, and feeling the freedom of living openly. I realized that my courage didn't just change how the world saw me, it changed how I saw myself. There were still moments of doubt, fleeting fears, and the occasional pang of insecurity, but they no longer defined me. Every reflection became a reminder of triumph, every compliment a celebration of authenticity. I had discovered something profound. Beauty, confidence, and empowerment aren't given. They are claimed, nurtured, and lived. Looking back, I can say without hesitation that the surgery was more than a transformation of flesh, it was a metamorphosis of the soul. It gave me the courage to step into the world, to be seen, and to be loved for who I truly am. I am no longer hiding behind mirrors, behind clothes, or behind the expectations of others. I am fully, beautifully, unapologetically myself. And now, when I look in the mirror, I don't just see a reflection. I see freedom. I see courage. I see the woman I was always meant to be. Life taught me that authenticity is the bravest act. Transformation isn't just about change, it's about claiming your truth, facing fear, and embracing every part of yourself. And if my story can inspire even one person to live openly, to experiment, to discover their own courage, then every nerve-wracking, exhilarating, heart-pounding moment has been worth it. I am a real woman. I am whole. And I'm finally home in my own skin. After those first few months of private discovery and cautious public outings, I began to realize something extraordinary. I was not just living in a new body, I was learning a whole new language of being. Every gesture, every glance, every smile had layers I had never noticed before. The world interacted differently with me now, and I was both nervous and exhilarated to respond. It started with the little things. Walking down the street, I noticed people's gazes lingering a moment longer, their smiles softer, their conversations quieter. I could feel the curiosity in their eyes, but it no longer scared me. Instead, it sparked something inside me, a thrilling awareness that I was finally seen as I had always wanted to be. There was a power in that visibility, subtle yet intoxicating. Shopping became an adventure, almost a game. I wandered through boutique racks, running my fingers over silk and chiffon, feeling the textures against my fingertips. Every new outfit was a discovery. How it hugged my waist, how the hem swished when I walked, how the colors made my skin glow. For the first time, I could dress for me, not to hide, not to please, not to blend in. The freedom was addictive. I laughed quietly in fitting rooms at the reflection staring back, sometimes twirling, sometimes shyly practicing a confident stride. Then came my first real night out. A small, local club recommended by a friend from an online trans community. I was terrified, my heart pounding, palms sweaty, but I also felt a thrill that was impossible to ignore. The moment I stepped through the door, the music wrapped around me like a pulse. The room was alive with laughter, chatter, and the faint scent of perfume and cologne mingling in the air. I felt my new body moving, not awkwardly, but with a rhythm I was beginning to own. A stranger caught my eye across the room, a warm smile, soft eyes, and a kind nod. "You look amazing," she said simply, and I felt my chest tighten. It wasn't just a compliment. It was validation, a recognition that I had been craving for years. I smiled back, a genuine, unguarded smile, and felt a surge of confidence. For the first time, I wasn't hiding in the shadows. I was present, fully and undeniably myself. But with newfound freedom came tension. The world doesn't always accept change gracefully. On my way home that night, someone shouted from a passing car, a cruel taunt that made my stomach twist. My pulse spiked, my knees weak, and my heart raced with a familiar fear. And yet, for the first time, I didn't feel powerless. I walked faster, held my head high, and reminded myself that their ignorance didn't define me. The reflection in shop windows as I passed back home reminded me, I was beautiful. I was real. I was me. Back at home, the exploration continued, but now it had a daring edge. I experimented with hairstyles, extensions, different shades of lipstick, even trying subtle ways to accentuate my femininity in movement and posture. I discovered the magic in tilting my head slightly when I spoke, the way a wrist flick could express confidence, the way a soft laugh could transform a room. Every discovery was both playful and profound, a puzzle piece in building the woman I was becoming. My relationships evolved too. Friends began noticing the changes, not just in appearance, but in energy. Some were surprised, others hesitant, and a few wonderfully supportive. My best friend, who had been with me since childhood, was the first to truly embrace my transformation. "You look radiant," she said one afternoon over coffee. "It's not just your face or clothes, it's you." That simple acknowledgement filled me with warmth I had never known. It was affirmation not just of who I was on the outside, but who I had always been inside. Yet, the world wasn't always gentle. Social gatherings were minefields of uncertainty. Family events felt particularly delicate. My father, still grappling with the change, often spoke cautiously, tiptoeing around my presence. I learned to navigate these interactions with patience and honesty, sometimes quietly correcting assumptions, sometimes simply letting moments pass. But each experience, each interaction, was teaching me resilience. I was learning that authenticity sometimes demands courage and persistence. Then came a moment that would redefine everything. I was attending a professional networking event, something I had done countless times in my old life, but now in my new body. As I walked into the room, heads turned. Conversations paused. Whispers circulated. Anxiety prickled at my skin, but I held my posture, lifted my chin, and smiled. One colleague, someone I had known for years, approached cautiously. "Wow, you look incredible," he said, his voice a mix of surprise and admiration. "Thank you," I replied, steady but warm, letting the words roll off my tongue naturally. The conversation that followed was different than anything I had experienced before. I felt seen, not just physically, but as a professional, as a person, as someone worthy of respect and recognition. That night, as I walked home, I realized something profound. I didn't just survive my transformation. I was thriving in it. Every fearful glance, every judgment, every whispered question had led me here, to a place where my identity wasn't just tolerated, it was respected. But transformation is never linear. One afternoon, as I was leaving a cafe, a group of strangers started whispering, casting glances, and one audacious person even muttered something cruel under their breath. My first instinct was to retreat, to shrink back into the safety of invisibility. But then I remembered every step I had taken to claim this life, every night spent experimenting, every public outing where fear had met courage. I squared my shoulders, met their eyes, and walked past with confidence. It wasn't defiance, it was self-respect. It was understanding that my presence was valid, no matter their reaction. The next weeks were transformative in a deeper way. I joined a local community group for trans women, connecting with others who had walked similar paths. Listening to their stories, sharing my own, I felt a sense of belonging I had never known. We exchanged tips on makeup, fashion, and social navigation. But more importantly, we exchanged affirmation, support, and understanding. For the first time, I felt truly part of a community, a network of courage and authenticity. Public life gradually became easier. I experimented with more daring outfits, ventured into busier parts of the city, and even tried speaking up in social situations where I might have remained silent before. Each small victory compounded, building not just confidence, but a sense of joy I hadn't realized I had been missing. I discovered that empowerment wasn't a single moment, it was a series of choices, small and large, that allowed me to inhabit the world fully. Then came the ultimate test, attending a family wedding fully as myself. Walking into the venue, my heart pounded like a drum, echoing in my chest. Relatives whispered, some eyes widened, others softened with recognition. I saw my mother, tears glistening as she smiled. My sister hugged me tightly, whispering, "I'm so proud of you." And my father, after a long moment of hesitation, gave me a nod, a simple gesture that spoke volumes. That night, dancing under the lights, surrounded by family and friends, I felt the culmination of every struggle, every experiment, every moment of doubt. I was seen. I was accepted. I was free. And in that freedom, I discovered the most profound truth of all. Transformation isn't just about how the world perceives you, it's about how fully you choose to embrace yourself. Reflecting now, months into this journey, I can say with certainty that my life has been irrevocably changed, in the best possible way. I have learned that courage is built in small, deliberate acts, practicing in front of a mirror, stepping outside when the world feels hostile, speaking your truth even when it's uncomfortable. I have discovered a joy that comes from living authentically, unapologetically, and fully. I am no longer the person who hid in shadows, afraid of judgment, longing for a reflection that matched my soul. I am a woman who owns her body, her identity, her presence. I am a woman who walks into the world with confidence, grace, and pride. And most importantly, I am a woman who knows her worth, and refuses to let anyone define it for her. The journey wasn't easy. It wasn't without fear, embarrassment, or heartache. But every tear, every doubt, every whispered question from the world strengthened me, shaped me, and led me to this moment of pure empowerment. To anyone listening, anyone watching, anyone who has ever felt trapped in a body or identity that doesn't reflect their soul, you are worthy, you are valid, and your courage to live authentically will light the way not just for yourself, but for others. I am a real woman. I am empowered. I am free. And every day, I choose to step further into the life I was always meant to live.